Hello, my fellow expressions of consciousness. It's wonderful to be here with you. I wanted to talk about this new film, Everything, Anywhere, All at Once. I just came back from the cinema and I watched it. A lot of people were telling me it's been one of their favorite films this year. I've seen a lot of hype I've read and seen online. So I went to see it. I'm a movie guy. And yes, I liked it. It was great. It's definitely my favorite film of the year. But I just wanted to give you a spiritual perspective. Of course, let me just say, spoiler alert, I'm going to obviously talk about scenes from the film and concepts from the film and give you my spiritual or non-dual or truth perspective of it, coming from how I perceive reality due to my awakening a few years back that I've spoken about before. Because there are things in this film that may seem like they are just for action purposes, just for the movie purpose, entertainment purposes. But I can say for sure within my experience, I've experienced things that completely match what they were showing, such as the part of the film or main aspect of the film, which was you are many different people, many different universes. I've experienced that. Have I spoken about this before online? I'm not sure, but I've experienced that. Literally being here one moment and then in another moment, just like that, I'm in another body, another reality, another time. And I was a white person. It felt just as real as this. It's really true. We are multiple streams of infinite consciousness. As that single background to the foreground of experience that I call pure consciousness, we experience everything at the same time. But because we are perceiving through the limitations and the attachments to that which we call the mind or thoughts, identity, in that moment of attaching to this localized, seemingly localized version of what we truly are, we overlook the vastness of what we truly are. So if you throw a stone into a river, you will see the rings. You can see them distinctly. At the exact moment that you are looking at the rings, you will be ignoring the rest of the river. So this drop in the ocean of consciousness that we call the mind is in such a way that we can, as that pure consciousness, focus on it, because it's just awareness, just infinite intelligence and awareness, right? That's what it does constantly. Is it's aware of the phenomenal experience such as now, and it's aware of what we call in a waking state nothing. It's aware of what we call nothing in the waking state. That's why you know for sure you did not, this version of you did not exist infinitely, because you was aware of the nothingness before this birth. It might sound crazy, but how else could you know that you didn't exist prior to this birth, this version of you? Because you was aware of that moment, that period of nothing, of not this you, I should say, of the absence of this you. Is your name Bob? You was aware of the absence of that baby you. But the awareness looks like nothing. But that's why you know for sure. So, yeah, when it's showing things like that, being in different timelines, different bodies, but it's all still you, that consistency is that pure consciousness. So we could say that the main character was that pure awareness, aware of multiple versions of experience that always has to have some type of body and life. Otherwise, it's nothing to perceive. So that main character, is her name off the top of my head Michelle Yeoh? Something like that. Great actress. That's another point. She was acting very good. So, yeah, so let's say she represents that pure awareness that is aware of different versions of herself. But when she wasn't aware, as her character, I forgot her name in the show. Oh, Evelyn. When she wasn't aware as Evelyn that she's actually a multidimensional being, that was only due to the fact that she was attaching to the idea of her being Evelyn. Notice how she could awaken to the truth that she's many different versions of Evelyn, because she's, again, that background, that awareness, primarily speaking. But sometimes it takes a reflection to remind us that she is that awareness that can perceive any timeline. And as we all know, psychedelics can help, meditation can help, and it can be spontaneous. For me, I was being healed at some energy healing when I had that alternate reality experience. And I've also had my spontaneous awakening as well. Call it spontaneous, but I was working towards it. So yeah, and then obviously you have the third eye at the end when she had the googly eye on her third eye area. So that's obviously a nod to the idea of being awakened, third eye. But at the same time, as I always say, the third eye is not the most important thing to understand when it comes to awakening. The most important thing to understand is you are that awareness. You are not solely this version that you call yourself, Kelly, Bob, Heather, Michael, John, Kip, right? You're not solely that. The third eye is only restricted to the limited version of you. The third eye is a limitation. It's not the ultimate truth, not at all. It's a representation of higher perception, though, for sure. So, what else was there in the film to talk about? Oh, and just the fact that even though we are multi-dimensional consciousness or multi-dimensional beings, however you want to word it, the simple fact is this moment right now, this so-called mundane moment, is not mundane. We are literally choosing this from a higher perspective, like they did in the film. We are choosing this. You might say, oh, it's mundane, it's mundane. No, we are choosing this from the highest perspective. We are choosing to experience hands. We are choosing to experience ups and downs. And I know some of you won't want to hear that. But from the highest perspective, as that pure consciousness that is detached from all experience and is always whole, it just wants to experience reality. So we are choosing the mundane, we are choosing the ups and downs, we are choosing the bumpy roads, we are choosing the highs and the lows. We can only experience the highs if we know what the lows are, of course. Otherwise, there's no contrast, no context for what highs means if there's no lows. Now, what would high mean then? Right? We need to experience the polarity. So that's an important message too. And even the scene with the rock as well, when they became rocks and how they were just being, that's a nod I would suggest to just being. Right? See how everything came to a halt? And it's a very funny scene as well, but how, just being, so just being a rock, but just being is the most pleasurable thing that you can do. Just being. So, and also rocks are also an aspect of consciousness as well. They were communicating, and of course we wouldn't say rocks have minds and thoughts, but they are still an aspect of consciousness. Consciousness is projecting, let's say, or rocks are a modulation of consciousness. Nothing is outside of consciousness. If we can perceive it, its substance is consciousness. Because the perception of the so-called world is not at a distance. The distance of my face with your screen is not at a distance, is it? It's one. Let's take that back. The distance, just look at your hand. The distance from you perceiving your hand and perception itself is not at a distance. It's one. It's straight away. Perception. And then you might say a hand. So you're going into the perception. You're going into the experience. But really it's just perception. And even deeper, it's just awareness. Right? As soon as we're labeling things, we're taking a step seemingly away from pure being. I don't know when my phone's going to stop recording, so I'll wrap this up. And also I haven't posted a video for a while. I promise you I haven't forgotten about my YouTube fam. I do post more on TikTok though. Yeah. So it was very deep, and yeah, the main thing I want to get across is that it's true that we are pure infinite consciousness, and we have multiple infinite versions of ourselves in different realities. In fact, this reality right now is different to the one 2 seconds ago. In fact, there's no such thing as 2 seconds ago, there's just now. So even every single seemingly what we call moment is actually a new reality, a whole new reality. Take that literally, my friends, my fellow expressions of consciousness. That's why I say that. Every single so-called moment is a whole new reality. And that's why I put it to you that you can't even measure a moment, because there's no such thing as a moment even. We just call it a moment. How long is a moment? As you know, it's subjective, right? It's relative. You can all say different things. A moment is like, when you finish baking a cake, or a second. There's no such thing as a moment. There's just infinite jumping timelines. This timeline, for example, right now is a timeline that includes me doing that a second ago. But then again, now we're in another reality. You see, it's really like that. But also, you can make the big jump as well, perceiving from another body, and that happens. If you've done that, by the way, comment below if you feel like you've jumped timelines into a different body before. It'd be interesting to read that. So yeah, again, I don't know how much memory I got on my phone. I need to delete some things. So I just want to say that quickly, give a quick overview, deeper perspective of that film. And thank you for watching, my fellow expressions of consciousness. If you have any topics you'd like me to touch on, let me know. Peace.